On the pole position of the 16-year-old driver, a 1:10.635. Drivers now rolling out here. 17 in total here for the USF Pro 2000 category. A couple of drivers not able to be here due to budget restraints. You often see that at the end of the season, a driver who may not be in the championship fight electing to kind of cap things off, save a bit of that budget for off-season testing to come back the following year. One driver had a bit of an issue with getting their visa in position as well. Nico Baptiste from Colombia, not able to be here, but we'll see him back at Portland, so they'll get that dialed in. Otherwise, we are ready to go at it once again. Another 20-minute session, a shorter session than our normal 30-minute windows where we do allow for 20 minutes of green flag running. This instead just a short 20-minute session, so those initial laps, those banker laps are crucial. We saw that, Todd. Again, my name's Rob Haddon, folks, the voice of this USF Pro Championship. If you're just tuning in, the voice of the Indy Toronto event. Todd Lewis joining us here as well, an esteemed motorsports reporter and voice here in Canada. Todd, we saw this in the USF 2000. They had 20 minutes, but you had to get that banker lap in. Liam McNeely getting lucky because over those last, I think, 5 minutes of that session, somebody could have attacked on him. He was quick to go good in the middle of the session.
So important to manage your time and resources effectively during these short sessions. We saw some of the drivers in the USF 2000 come in, make the tire switch. Didn't play out for them because of the red flag that we have, but we'll see what happens here. Again, get that good lap in, assure yourself of at least a reasonable starting position before you start to think of maybe going a little further with it.
Front 3 rows for race number 1, which will take place at 4:15 this afternoon. Jashelski and Hughes on row 1, all Turn 3 Motorsports, as I had mentioned. Simon Sykes alongside his Pabst Racing teammate Jace Denmark on row 2. And Glenn Van Berlo and Liam Skeets from TJ Speed on row number 3. Van Berlo subbing in for Christian Brooks, who is now electing to totally focus on his move to the Indy Next Series. 3 top 10s in those events for Christian Brooks. But Van Berlo, a driver who's come early in his career through open wheel formula, Spanish F4, Euro Formula Open, more recently a top Porsche driver, both in the Europe and over here in the USA as well. And man, he was, I think, for me, the story of the day yesterday. Other than Jashelski's pole, here's a guy that has never driven one of these cars before, this Tatis USF Pro 2000. He's never been to Toronto before. Now, the team gave him a great car. Pabst Racing, as we know, won the championship last year, both the driver and the team championship in this category. But he showed his maturity and poise, coming out, taking care of the car in practice, getting more and more comfortable, and then qualifying P5. The Dutch driver who's never been here, never been in that car, to go P5, amazing.
Talent is one part of it. You said maturity, and I think professionalism is maybe another good word to describe. Just, this is the methodical approach. If I'm going to learn as much as I can in the first part of the sessions before I really start to go fast. Understand this is a different street circuit. It has very different characteristics than road circuits that you would have raced on before. You're surrounded by concrete. If you make a mistake, it could cost you big time. Let's learn as much as you can before starting to really pick up speed.
And think about the fact that he is one of the leading Porsche drivers right now in the world, right? That a lot of people are watching. And going from that tin top, that car with a lot more top body weight, a lot of our body roll, higher center of gravity, to get back behind the wheel of an open wheel formula car and pick it up so quickly. We'll see how Van Berlo does here. And again, opening up with this championship, Lockie Hughes will start on the outside of the front row for race number 1. He is your point leader, a significant point lead of 26 markers over Nikita Johnson. Johnson, of course, the young Florida driver, coming off back-to-back wins, a sweep of the action at the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course a couple of weeks ago. Last week, running in GP3, he was able to score a victory there in the reverse grid race number 3. So Johnson's having a lot of success. He's there right there in the number 17 for VRD Racing. A lot of eyes on Nikita Johnson after a strong start to the season. Jace Denmark, 3rd place in points. Christian Brooks, 4th. Liam Skeets, another rookie, in 5th. We mentioned that Brooks has elected to end his USF Pro 2000 campaign for this year, so we'll remove him from the championship discussion. So really, it's Hughes, Johnson, and Denmark, and maybe Liam Skeets on the outside looking in. Liam would have to have a big weekend here and at least one victory, I think, to get himself back in the fight with only 4 more races to go.
And that's the trick. We'll see. We'll start to see if that's going to be a realistic expectation or not, with race number 1 coming up a little bit later on today. That'll wrap up our Saturday here on the streets of Toronto. And just like that, we're through 5 minutes of this qualifying session with Let's see if that car is moving slowly or deliberately trying to create space.
I think that was Frankie Mossman. I think he's trying to create some space. He's trying to give himself a gap. I believe he was right behind Sean Rashid. Sean was 17th. He's a driver, full-time driver for GB3. He ran St. Petersburg. He's back for the first time here in Toronto, the American driver for VRD Racing. So I think Mossman was just trying to give himself some room. He qualified 13th, but they had an issue with the car. He only got a couple of laps and they couldn't get the car started on pit lane. So Mossman looking to try to rebound because he had, I believe he was 5th or 6th, I think, in practice on Friday morning. So expected a lot more from qualifying. So he'll need to give himself room. There's Mossman there coming out of turn number 11, full on the throttle. There's the 7 of Mac Clark. Big weekend for Mac. He's going to join us later today. He'll be in the booth with us as our driver analyst for USF 2000. But again, Todd, you understand this. You've been the voice of this event for many years now. If you're a Canadian, especially if you're from Ontario, he's from nearby Milton, 45 minutes from the downtown track here. This is a big weekend for him.
Huge weekend. He was with us for our pre-event media press conference. Actually arrived a little bit late because he was at another event and it took him a little longer than expected to get here, but arrived. He had another event on Thursday night, even before the on-track activity started. He had guests at the event. He has guests here all weekend and potential partners, people that are keeping an eye on him and watching his career. There are a lot of people that want to help him move forward in his career, but the opportunity is there. He has to produce now.
That's the number 19 of Glenn Van Berlo, the Dutchman who's making his first ever start here in Toronto. Right behind him, coming into turn number 8, was the 44 of Lockie Hughes, and Lockie wisely getting out of it. Because he was able to get through turn 8, he puts a lap down, a 1:10.192. So he goes P1. Lockie goes P1. Excuse me, instead of trying to push there, realize, hey, I got to give this next lap up. Checks up way up. You can see how far back he is now. That, I believe, is his teammate Danny Jashelski right behind him. So they give themselves a lot of room coming through, and it is, that's Jashelski right there. So they gave a lot of room, give themselves some stuff, and then get back at it for the remainder of the lap. So a really veteran move there for Lockie Hughes, who has won a number of championships coming up through his career, and indeed in the driver's seat right now for this title. It would give him that scholarship worth over $680,000 to move up to Indy next in 2025.
Cooler temperatures this morning than yesterday, and we're starting to see these times drop a little further. We have a number of drivers. It looks like we have 10 drivers already under the 111, and the tire changes.
Yeah, so Pabst Racing did this midway through the session in USF 2000. They put their banker laps in. Chase Denmark P1. Looks to me like all 3 drivers coming in. Denmark, Van Berlo, and Sykes all coming in now to pit lane for Pabst Racing. And I think I saw the turn 3 drivers coming in as well. Frankie Mossman's into pit lane already as well. Van Berlo's into pit lane too. As we said, who else is in there? One of the cars from turn 3 is in as well. Tyke Durst in the 33. He's coming as well. So we're seeing some strategy here in this session. Drivers trying to put some fresh rubber on, get a feel for the car. We talked about how much the track changes throughout the weekend. IndyCar's been on track. It's a lot cooler. We know that now than it was in yesterday's qualifying session. But the engines love the cool temperature, and the more rubber goes down, the more grip. So the car's in ideal conditions. We went quicker in USF 2000 than they did yesterday, so we may see the same thing here. Jashelski did a 1:10.63. We're already down to 1:09. So we're 0.7 of a second quicker than yesterday.
And more cars coming into pit lane to employ that strategy as well. Not quite at the midpoint of this 20-minute session, but looks like everybody's going to try and give that quick tire change a go for the final run here and pick up a little more speed.
Let's have a look at the, almost at the midway point here now. 9 minutes down, 11 still to go. Nikita Johnson now goes on top with a 1:09.973. The only driver to break the 1:10 mark at this point. Chase Denmark in second, Lockie Hughes third, Simon Sykes is fourth, and Danny Jashelski P5. Liam Skeet sits sixth. Alessandro Di Tullio on only his second race here in USF Pro 2000 debut 2 weeks ago at the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. Alessandro from Florida for BN Racing, currently the number 2 ranked single-speed kart racer in North America. This kid is a fantastic driver, full-time karting for Inter MS, a fantastic team based out of Florida. They also have a team in USF Juniors, and Di Tullio in that number 78 machine for BN Racing ran in the USF Juniors program 2 years ago in 2022, got a couple of wins there running for VRD Racing, wasn't able to get the title, didn't get the scholarship, so back into karting. But then has found a partner, somebody who wants to invest in his career, and we know Di Tullio, a huge talent, a couple of great runs at Mid-Ohio. His first time here in Toronto, the remainder of the season he'll be running, but it's all for him a fact-finding mission. No need to throw the car away, just learn everywhere where he goes.
This is what we'll see at this point of the season, with only the events here in Toronto and in Portland left for USF 2000, USF Pro 2000. If you're considering and looking towards moving up next year, sometimes you'll run an event or two just to sort of get the lay of the land. Okay, these cars are a little bit different, a little more sophisticated. You're trying to learn as much as possible to give yourself that kickstart when you do plan to run the full season next year.
And we saw a couple drivers do that last year. They were in USF 2000. Nikita Johnson, Matt Clark, both USF 2000 drivers last year. There was an event that USF 2000 wasn't at, and that was at the Circuit of the Americas. They both ran there in USF Pro 2000. Clark had a couple of podiums. Nikita Johnson with a victory as well. So good opportunity, as you said, late in the season to potentially get a taste for that next level of the program. There's Van Berlo there, the number 19. Now he's going to go to work getting some tire temp into those Continentals. He's currently down in 14th spot, so watch for Van Berlo to step things up. Nikita Johnson, James Denmark, Lockie Hughes, Simon Sykes, Ricardo Escoto for BN Racing. Now the Mexican in the number 77, he's done it this year as well. He's up to P5 right now, but he's run at least one Indy Next race, a couple of Indy Next races already this year. That's where he wants to be full-time in 2025. So Escoto running a couple of races with Juncos, the Juncos Hollinger Racing team. Again, 109.973 current provisional pole time, just over 8.5 minutes still remaining here. There's a couple drivers slow on the racetrack, getting themselves, again, up to temperature, get those tires where they need to be. Watch yourself on the opening lap. Don't make the mistake on cold tires, which many drivers have done before.
That's right, and this is everyone trying to get the cars ready for those final couple of laps, the final couple of minutes of this qualifying session. That's Nicholas Montero, who looks like he's trying to find himself a little bit of a gap as well to get the maximum out. This is you've come in, you've made the tire change now, so run a couple of laps, get the heat into the tires, make sure the pressure's where you want, and in the final 5-6 minutes is where we should see the big push.
Not surprising, here we are right now coming into the 10 o'clock hour. We've already seen about a 3 or a 4 degree temperature increase since we started USF 2000 with 67 degrees, about 70 right now, so 3 degrees up, getting a little bit warmer as that sun starts baking its way into the asphalt and cement, the concrete areas here at the track. Again, this track has always been so challenging because of the differing surfaces you'll see, because even though, like we talked about, when you get those concrete barriers put down, they're not always in exactly the same place. A couple of inches, you may not think as a casual fan, a couple of inches are different in an apex where they've had the barriers, but drivers have got this down to an absolute science. And if all of a sudden those barriers are pushed up a little bit more than they were last year, that's when contact happens, because they think they have that muscle memory from the year before. They have to, when they do the track walk on Thursday night, be able to identify those changes.
And even through the weekend, they'll make some small adjustments as well. When I was coming in this morning, there was a little repositioning going on. So again, if there's an opportunity for a little more room, drivers going to look for that and take advantage of it.
And that's why the initial laps in any kind of session, that one lap you get to go around in green, you got to make sure you pick up all your turn-in points, all those reference points you have around the racetrack, because things can change throughout the weekend, as Todd alluded to. There's that manhole cover when they come out of turn number 8. You'll see the cars really settle over top of that, working that suspension travel. Good shot here to turn number 11. How close are they getting to the wall? Oh, Van Berlo rolled it out there nicely. He's starting to get more comfortable as well. Watch for Glenn Van Berlo to put a lap in here pretty soon. He's currently in the 15th spot. I think we're going to see him step things up here in a bit. 1.4 seconds back for Van Berlo. He was only, how far back? He was only 4/10 back in qualifying for race number 1. So I expect him to step things up. Still only one driver into the 109s. And as these 10 tires are up to temp, now you're going to see drivers start laying things down. I will say this. Nikita Johnson, 26 points back coming into the weekend, a bonus point for qualifying on the pole. Cash as well. We already know that Liam McNeely just scored himself $1,000 courtesy of Continental Tire for the pole in USF 2000. $1,500 up for grabs for the pole here in USF Pro 2000. And also a penalty potentially, or a point as potentially for being on the pole. Being told a potential penalty for the number 9, I think, of Montiero. Go. So yeah, it's a driver interference penalty for Montiero against the 18 of Simon Sykes. So indeed, Todd, let's just talk briefly, 5.5 minutes still to go. If you're trying to get a gap, or if you're on the racetrack having changed your tires, and you're out there trying to bring the tires up to temp, you've got to stay out of the way.
Absolutely.
You got to pick things up. And Montiero, obviously, we saw how he was kind of creeping around. A number of drivers had to slow up a little bit. Race control saying, hey, listen, you impeded another driver, you're going to lose your fast lap.
That's the key. It's one thing to try to get another gap, but if you disrupt another driver's quick lap or an attempt at a quick lap, you'll be penalized for that, and Ontario's going to pay the price right now as we just pass under 5 minutes remaining in this session.
It's something we've been dealing with. Our USF juniors had a mess of a weekend at VIR where they all kind of left the pit lane at the start of qualifying, got out over to, I think, turn 3 or 4, and they all tried to stack up behind Liam McNeely. They do it in karting a lot. I know F1 guys have been doing it lately, but they all kind of stacked up right behind Liam McNeely, and they were cruising around at like 40, 50 miles an hour coming down the back straightaway at VIR into the big left-hander. Well, there were drivers in full song who had left early, weren't part of that kind of chaos, and had to check up from 130 miles in the back straightaway. Race control dropped a hammer on that, and it was talked about in the drivers' meeting. You cannot impede somebody in qualifying. If you do, you'll lose your fast lap. Nicholas Montero, the first driver to get nailed by that one.
Learning how to drive fast is one thing, but understanding all of the other racetrack etiquette is also part of the learning process.
Van Berlo back into pit lane. He is 16th. Not able to find the pace for Van Berlo. So potentially a tap of the wall here for Van Berlo. So there you go, pushing hard. Very likely, we saw him get wide through turn 8, potentially tapping the wall somewhere else on the racetrack. So Van Berlo has brought that car to pit lane. So the tale of 2 days for Glenn Van Berlo, P5 for race number 1. And if he's done now, it's going to be P16 outside of row 8 for Van Berlo. So it'll be an interesting day for him on Sunday morning when he has to start deeper in the field. There we go, first driver getting some speed out here. Lockie Hughes, point leader for turn 3. Motorsports has gone back to P1, a 109.305. And here comes Nikita Johnson. He'll return the favor, 109.2. 3.5 minutes remaining in the session. Hughes second, Johnson first. Who else has gone into the 109s? Simon Sykes up into third. Jace Denmark into fourth. Frankie Mossman now fifth spot. Liam Skeets in sixth. Alessandro Petulio seventh. Matt Cork in eighth. Cooper Beckel ninth. And Ricardo Escoto in 10th. Danny Yashelski, pole for race 1, is all the way back with a 110.4. He's over a second off the pace right now.
I was just going to wonder about that. He was quickest yesterday, had the pole for race number 1, which comes up later today, but really has not been able to find speed in this morning's session.
Maybe waiting to the end. Like we said, still 3 minutes to go. Unless they tried something potentially on the car that didn't go the right way. He's a 110.6. Johnson 19.2. In fact, Yashelski did a 110.6, so everybody else got significantly quicker. He's exactly the same pace right now. He just drops it down to a 110.4. He's up to 12th, but you would have expected a big jump. Nikita Johnson did a 111.4, and he's down to a 109.2. He's 2 seconds faster than he was yesterday, over 2 seconds faster. So the VRD crew down on that machine in nicely.
That's amazing to see the leaps forward that these teams can make. We talk about short sessions for qualifying. The practice session was only 30 minutes as well, abbreviated a little bit with red flags, but to find that speed, and this is the maturity and professionalism that these drivers, again, to come up to speed so quickly.
Key thing about this weekend, obviously the first time we've been here on Continental Tires, so all that information you have for setup on the Cooper tires you can't use. We can't test here. Every other track that they go to test, they get a feel for it. Hey, we're going to feel for what the car needs on the Continentals. Here, everybody, listen, you could have rolled off with what you thought would have been the best baseline, and it's just not right? So you're chasing that setup. VRD had a particular setup. They were 11th with Nikita Johnson yesterday. Now they're P1 over 2 seconds faster. Whatever the changes they made, they hit it on the head for sure. Nikita Johnson's P1. He wants his pole position. He's fighting the drivers alongside him right now. Lockie Hughes, there's Sean Rashid getting out of the way of the number 10 of George Garcia Arce. So a great job for Rashid there to get out of the way. Being told potential tap of the wall for Sean Rashid as well. Out of the way coming out of turn number 8. Here they are coming through turn 8. As I just said here, this is right across the timing line. There's Rashid in the number 32, right behind his teammate. Rashid is going to go to pit lane. So indeed, Sean Rashid's going to put it in the pit lane right now to Johnson. Ricardo Scoto's gone quick. He's up to 5th. Cooper Becklin up to 6th. We get the last minute of qualifying here. I love this shot. There is Simon Sykes about 6 or 7 inches off the wall. There's Yashelski. Where's he up to now? 9th. All right, so he keeps finding pace, but he's still 0.8 of a second off. Danny Yashelski, who's been on the front row for all 3 races so far this year on a street circuit, was on the front row alongside his teammate Lockie Hughes for both races in St. Petersburg.
And who's got speed at the end? Under half a minute remaining, so everybody's headed for the checkered flag now, trying to get everything they can out of this lap.
These guys here might be able to sneak one more in. Right, that's the key right now, too. Can you get around before the checkered flag comes out? Because 10 seconds remaining, you may get that one more lap. Lockie Hughes back on top, 109.133. Hughes, your point leader, steals it back away. John's going to try to grab it. Where is the checkered flag? These drivers are getting the checker right now. Everybody coming across the screen here will wrap up their session right now. Cooper Becklin goes to P4 out of Portland, Oregon. Up to 4th for Becklin. Deshelski goes up to 6th, but does not get one more lap. So Deshelski P6, so will not be another front row start for Danny D. He is 6th for Escoto 7th. DeTulio up into 8th. But there are drivers, I believe, still on the track, laying down some flyers. Here they come. Here's one of the T-Force cars. Lockie Hughes still on top. Who else do we have to come across the line? Matt Clark currently back in 9th position. DeTulio improves up into 5th for BN Racing. What an excellent qualifying run for Alessandro DeTulio, only his 2nd USF Pro 2000 race. One of his BN teammates coming out, likely Escoto in the 77. We'll see if he goes quicker. 4 drivers going faster on that last lap. DeTulio to 5th, Liam Skeets to 6th, Deshelski up to 8th, and Tyke Durst up into 14th. Man, that was a tight qualifying run. Glenn Van Berlo will start 5th for race number 1. He will be 17th at the tail of the field for race number 2. A tale of 2 days for Glenn Van Berlo, the Dutch driver making his debut here this weekend. But I'll tell you, that is big for Lockie Hughes. That is 4 straight front row starts on the 2 street circuits, a 109.133. He extends his championship lead to 27 points over the driver who will start on the outside of him for race number 2, Nikita Johnson. So Hughes and Johnson on row 1 for Sunday morning. Denmark alongside Cooper Becklin. What a great drive for Cooper Becklin in that qualifying session. He'll go to 4th. Alessandro DeTulio 5th. He'll start alongside Liam Skeets on row 3. Simon Sykes and Danny Deshelski will be on row 4. Ricardo Escoto and Matt Clark on row 5 as Deshelski's pace there moving Escoto and Clark back a couple of spots. Just outside Frankie Mossman 11th. He'll start alongside Nicolas Montiero. George Garcia-Arce and Tyke Durst on row 7. Logan Adams and Sean Rashid on row 8. And Glenn Van Berlo will start at the tail of the field in 17th. Lockie Hughes, though, Todd, an impressive run for him. He and Johnson were just going back and forth. They were just trading haymakers on who was going to qualify on the pole. 109.133, a solid lap there for Lockie Hughes.
And all top 10 qualifiers for race number 2 under the minute 10 mark. It'll be Danny Deshelski and Lockie Hughes later on this afternoon when they take the green for race number 1.
Indeed, folks, 2 races on the docket here for the USF Pro Championships presented by Continental Tire. A great day here, trackside, 71 degrees, folks, and we thank you for tuning in. 12:40 start time for USF 2000 later on today, and then, of course, 4:15 USF Pro 2000 will have their first wheel-to-wheel action of the event this weekend. All part of the Continental Tire Grand Prix of Toronto. Thank you so much for tuning in, folks. We'll see you this afternoon for USF 2000 on behalf of Anderson Promotions and Continental Tire. My name is Rob Howden. Bye for now.
Bye.